Brutal exchange between Christian Horner and Toto Wolff. Stay until the end to find out all the details that have shaken Formula One to its core. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. Tension within Formula One has escalated to a boiling point not seen in over a decade, and at the center of this growing storm stands a figure who has become both a symbol of brilliance and controversy: Christian Horner. Once hailed as the indomitable mastermind behind Red Bull Racing's meteoric rise, the man who built a dynasty from scratch now finds himself walking a political tightrope, surrounded by rising pressure, deteriorating trust, and a rapidly accelerating crisis that threatens to dismantle not only his career but the very foundation of the team he built. The situation has shifted from quiet whispers in dark corridors to full-scale internal combustion, and the fallout is pulling in the biggest names in the paddock, most notably, his longtime rival and strategic nemesis, Toto Wolff. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. Inside the Red Bull inner circle, the atmosphere is no longer one of control or dominance. It's one of uncertainty, paranoia, and mounting disillusionment. Multiple insiders have revealed that the discussions regarding Horner's removal have not only existed for months, they've become increasingly serious, methodical, and intense. The leadership structure of the team is cracking. There's a palpable discomfort among key decision-makers, a sense that the empire is no longer being guided with the same clarity, cohesion, or energy that once made Red Bull the most feared name on the grid. And behind the scenes, the list of concerns keeps growing. Private controversies that refuse to disappear, public perception crises that erode sponsor confidence, and a noticeable drop in internal chemistry that once defined the team's culture. The once unshakable unity of the Milton Keynes operation is now a fragmented echo of its former self. What makes this even more volatile is the involvement of Toto Wolff, not as a passive observer, but as an active, calculating participant in the unfolding drama. The Mercedes team boss, known for his political savvy and ruthless precision, is believed to be leveraging this moment of weakness, pulling strings behind the curtain, and fueling the internal fracture lines with a kind of subtle influence that only a seasoned operator could master. He sees an opportunity not just to exploit Red Bull's vulnerability, but to finally unseat Horner after years of relentless battles both on and off the track. This is no longer just a rivalry. It's a chess match at the highest level, where each move is laced with strategy, manipulation, and an understanding that control over the political landscape of Formula One can be just as powerful as control over the car. The tension is now visible not just in private meetings, but in the strained body language during press briefings, the veiled comments in interviews, the quiet but noticeable shifts in allegiance among Red Bull personnel. There's growing concern that Horner's leadership, once his strongest asset, has now become a liability. Not because he suddenly lacks ability, but because the environment around him no longer functions in his favor. The alliances he once relied on have thinned. The power brokers he once appeased have grown colder. The patience he once enjoyed has evaporated. And in the cutthroat world of Formula One, sentiment never trumps performance, or perception. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. Internally, the friction is no longer deniable. Engineers, strategists, and key figures within the organization are reportedly divided. Some still see Horner as the only person capable of steadying the ship. Others believe the team's evolution has outgrown his methods, that his style now conflicts with the direction Red Bull wants to take, both technologically and culturally. And looming over all of it is the undeniable truth: the longer this drags on, the more it destabilizes a team that once thrived on laser-sharp focus and unified purpose. Wolff, meanwhile, is playing the long game. He knows this is a rare moment when Red Bull's armor is cracked, when the very structure of their dominance is exposed and vulnerable. And he's not just watching, he's orchestrating. Subtle messages to stakeholders, private conversations with influential figures in the sport's governing bodies, even well-timed leaks, all hint at a broader campaign to ensure that Horner's fall is not just a personal downfall, but a strategic victory for Mercedes. It's the kind of power play that goes far beyond the racetrack. This is about legacy, territory, and control of the sport's future. What happens next will reshape the power dynamic of Formula One for years. If Horner is removed, it won't be a quiet exit. It will be an explosion felt throughout the paddock. And if he survives, it will only intensify the war between two of the most cunning figures in the sport. In either scenario, the damage is done. The illusion of stability at Red Bull has been shattered. And the mastermind once seen as untouchable is now teetering on the edge, caught in a storm that shows no sign of fading, only growing. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. Just days ago, amidst the shimmering luxury of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, something unfolded that sent shockwaves through the inner sanctums of Formula One. Away from the paddock cameras, far from the glare of the media pen and the swirl of PR-crafted narratives, an unexpected and potentially seismic meeting took place, one that could irreversibly alter the sport's political landscape. Several credible eyewitnesses, including high-ranking journalists and prominent figures within the F1 hospitality circle, confirmed seeing none other than Helmut Marko and a select group of Red Bull Racing senior executives stepping aboard the sleek, dark-tinted private yacht of Mercedes boss Toto Wolff. Anchored discreetly just off Port Hercule, the scene was calm on the surface, but beneath the polished decks, the storm was brewing. What began as a seemingly casual rendezvous between two old rivals quickly escalated into a tense, hours-long strategic discussion that sources close to the negotiation have described as historic, unprecedented, and utterly game-changing. The meeting, which lasted close to 4 uninterrupted hours, was not about hospitality, social courtesy, or sponsorship crossovers. It was a calculated high-stakes summit to map out a radical shift in Red Bull's leadership, one that centered around a highly sensitive and controversial topic: the potential removal of Christian Horner as team principal of Red Bull Racing. The details are jaw-dropping. Sources reveal that Marko initiated the conversation with support from a growing faction inside Red Bull's senior hierarchy, who have grown uneasy with the instability and public scrutiny surrounding Horner in recent months. The push isn't just political, it's strategic, it's deliberate, and it's being orchestrated with military precision. What's even more shocking is the role Wolff is playing in this operation. Far from being a passive observer or a curious friend, Wolff is reportedly acting as a discreet mediator and structural advisor, helping broker a revolutionary behind-the-scenes deal that could see a direct collaboration between two of Formula One's fiercest rivals. At the heart of this clandestine negotiation lies an eye-watering financial blueprint. A proposed compensation package for Horner's exit has already been tabled, meticulously designed to avoid prolonged legal battles and ensure a swift, discreet transition. But that's only the beginning. According to insiders briefed on the plan, a strategic restructuring budget of approximately $23 million has been agreed upon in principle. This sum would be distributed across multiple categories, including the appointment of a new leadership core, public relations containment, legal buffers, and internal restructuring to safeguard Red Bull's performance and brand integrity in the wake of the anticipated storm. Even more provocatively, part of the draft proposal includes Mercedes-affiliated consultants playing an advisory role in stabilizing Red Bull's executive infrastructure post-Horner. While not an outright personnel swap between teams, the idea of Wolff lending support to redesign the inner architecture of a direct rival is unheard of, an act that blurs the lines between competition and collaboration in ways F1 has never witnessed. It is no longer just about rivalry on the track, it's a high-level chess game of control, influence, and long-term power. The implications are staggering. If executed, this maneuver wouldn't just remove Horner, it would symbolically redefine the sport's power map. Red Bull, a team known for its fiercely independent, sometimes even rebellious leadership style, would be recalibrating its entire foundation with input from the very empire it has long fought tooth and nail to beat. For Wolff, it would be a tactical masterstroke, weakening a rival, boosting his own strategic footprint in the sport, and cementing himself as more than a team principal, as a kingmaker. Insiders say the legal teams from both sides are now finalizing the exact language of the agreement. Every clause, every nuance, every potential leak is being scrutinized to prevent any premature exposure. If all goes according to plan, a formal announcement is expected within the next 7 days. But the paddock is already vibrating with anticipation. Phones are lighting up, private calls are being made, and senior figures across the grid are scrambling to understand how this could happen, and what it means for the future. What was once unthinkable is now on the verge of becoming reality. Christian Horner, the architect behind Red Bull's rise, may soon be ousted not by poor performance, but by internal politics and an unlikely alliance with his greatest rival. The countdown has already begun. That's just the beginning. Beneath the surface, hidden from the cameras, away from the paddock whispers and fan speculation, a seismic shift has already begun, and almost no one saw it coming. While all eyes were on Ferrari, Alpine, and the endless speculation surrounding Christian Horner's next move, something far more audacious was quietly unfolding behind closed doors. Less than a day ago, Horner sat down in a highly confidential meeting with senior executives of Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1, in the heart of London. No press. No leaks. No entourage. Just key decision-makers and the man whose influence has shaped a modern Formula One dynasty. What they discussed wasn't theoretical. It was real, tangible, explosive. The meeting revolved around salary terms, leadership structure, and long-term vision, an unfiltered high-stakes conversation about reshaping Mercedes from the inside out. And the number on the table? A jaw-dropping $12 million per year, offered not to sit on the sidelines, not to consult from a distance, but to become the core of Mercedes' new leadership era. A move that would redefine not just the team, but the balance of power in Formula One itself. But what truly detonates this bombshell isn't just the paycheck or the position, it's the vision Horner put forward during that discussion. According to a direct source with intimate knowledge of the conversation, Horner didn't mince words. He made it clear that if he is to lead Mercedes into a new chapter, he wants a clean slate, and that includes the driver lineup. Specifically, George Russell, currently seen by many as Mercedes' long-term project, would not be part of Horner's blueprint. Despite Russell's undeniable skill, racecraft, and youthful energy, Horner allegedly declared he doesn't view him as championship material. Not now. Not ever. To Horner, the Brit represents a solid driver, but not a future icon, and for what he intends to build, solid isn't enough. He wants domination. He wants killers. And in Horner's mind, that means bringing one man to Brackley, Max Verstappen. Yes, Max. The reigning world champion. The very driver Horner mentored, protected, and weaponized at Red Bull. The same man whose rise is forever linked to Horner's strategic genius. Horner's plan, as pitched to Mercedes, goes beyond reshaping management. It's about transplanting greatness. He wants to reunite with Verstappen under a new banner, turn Mercedes into a fortress again, and shatter the narrative that Red Bull's dominance lives and dies with Milton Keynes. This isn't a symbolic move. It's a full-blown coup attempt, a masterstroke in motorsport chess that could append everything we know about the current grid. The implications are staggering. Verstappen is under contract with Red Bull, yes, but the tension behind the scenes, the political rifts, the personal fallouts, and the ongoing power struggles inside Red Bull Racing have made the once unthinkable suddenly plausible. Horner knows exactly which levers to pull, which pressure points to apply, and how to exploit every fracture. He's not just chasing a paycheck, he's chasing legacy. To dethrone Red Bull by stripping them of their star, placing him in a silver arrow, and turning the tables on his former empire would be the ultimate revenge arc. For Mercedes, it would mean instant firepower, a return to relevance, and the beginning of a new era led by two men who know how to crush the field. What seemed like just another week of rumors has turned into something much darker, much deeper, and infinitely more volatile. This isn't just a career move, it's war. And if it goes through, nothing in Formula One will ever be the same again. Yes, it's real. Christian Horner, the architect behind Max Verstappen's meteoric rise, the man who battled politics, rival teams, and even his own internal factions to secure Red Bull's dominance, is now orchestrating what could be the most explosive shake-up Formula One has seen in decades. He's not just exploring a new chapter. He's aiming to rewrite the book entirely. In a high-stakes behind-closed-doors conversation with Mercedes senior leadership, Horner made his intentions clear. He wants Max Verstappen to join him in Brackley. That's not speculation. That's the game plan. And if it happens, the shockwaves would tear through the very foundations of the sport. During that confidential summit, Horner reportedly outlined not just his vision for Mercedes' rebirth, but also his continued psychological and professional influence over Verstappen. Despite the turbulence of recent events, despite the internal chaos at Red Bull, Horner made it clear that the connection between him and Max, though bruised, is far from broken. He believes that Verstappen, who values loyalty and long-term security, would seriously consider following him if Red Bull begins to unravel. And with so much drama swirling around the Milton Keynes camp, that unraveling no longer feels like a hypothetical. From power struggles to PR disasters, the cracks are forming, and Horner knows exactly where to press. This isn't about nostalgia or sentiment. It's strategic. It's brutal. It's chess at 300 kilometers per hour. Horner isn't just offering Mercedes a plan, he's offering them a complete reset. One where he builds the team from the inside out, choosing the personnel, shaping the race day structure, and leading a campaign designed to crush the new regulations in 2026. Sources close to the negotiations have confirmed that the meeting included deep dives into the upcoming engine regulations, with Horner expressing confidence that Mercedes' PU development is already ahead of several rivals. He sees an opportunity to strike early, to lay the groundwork before the grid even knows what's coming. And Mercedes? They're listening. Not just because Horner has a history of winning, but because the timing aligns perfectly with internal shifts. With whispers growing louder that Toto Wolff is preparing to step into a more global, cross-departmental leadership role, the team needs a new general to take charge at ground level. James Allison remains laser-focused on car development, but he's not the public face. He's not the political player. Horner is. And he's made it clear, he won't accept half measures. He wants full control. He wants the power to structure the team his way, from race engineers to strategy chiefs, without legacy interference or loyalty to underperforming figures. It's no coincidence that the conversation also touched on driver dynamics. While Mercedes continues to show public unity around George Russell, there's frustration brewing under the surface. Behind closed doors, key figures are questioning Russell's lack of consistency, his struggles under race day pressure, and his inability to capitalize when the car delivers. With Hamilton's departure looming and no clear successor ready to lead the charge, the idea of bringing in Verstappen, arguably the most dominant driver of the modern era, suddenly shifts from fantasy to blueprint. And with Horner as the architect, the pieces begin to align in terrifying harmony. Imagine it. A Mercedes reborn under Horner's iron grip, powered by a cutting-edge 2026 engine package, led by a once-in-a-generation talent who knows how to break records and destroy rivals. The paddock wouldn't just react, it would erupt. Red Bull would be gutted. The balance of power would shift overnight. Sponsors would follow the momentum. Fans would pick sides. And every headline, every camera, every bit of global attention would be trained on Brackley. This isn't just about revenge. It's about legacy. Horner, after being forced out of the empire he helped build, is now positioning himself to take control of the next one. He's not begging for a comeback, he's designing a coup. And if Verstappen joins him, Formula One will never be the same. What makes this entire saga even more electrifying is the shadow war unfolding far from the cameras, far from the official press releases, and far from the carefully scripted narratives being pushed by corporate PR teams. On the surface, Red Bull believes it's managing Christian Horner's exit with precision and restraint, crafting a transition that feels calm, deliberate, and mutually understood. But underneath that polished exterior, Horner is orchestrating something far more complex. He's not reacting, he's anticipating. Like a strategist 10 moves ahead, he's constructing the next phase of his career before Red Bull has even finalized the paperwork on his departure. The game being played isn't just about jobs or contracts. This is political warfare at its most refined, where power, legacy, and narrative control are the real prizes. The tension between Horner and Toto Wolff, once just verbal skirmishes tossed out during fiery press conferences, has evolved into something far more strategic, more layered, and infinitely more dangerous. What used to be sharp quotes for the media has now become corporate chess, a silent duel between two of the most ruthless minds in Formula One. While Wolff remains focused on rebuilding Mercedes' image and competitiveness, Horner is working behind closed doors to flip the entire dynamic of power within the paddock. The rivalry has gone well beyond the racetrack. It's now rooted in boardrooms, strategic alliances, whispered conversations with key sponsors, and confidential talks with high-level executives. This is no longer about lap times. It's about control of the narrative, influence over the future, and domination of the sport from the inside out. Sources from deep within both teams are leaking fragments of a timeline so calculated it borders on theatrical. Insiders are convinced that once Red Bull finally makes Horner's departure official, whether it's called a resignation, a mutual agreement, or anything else, he won't wait long. In fact, it's expected he'll move within 48 hours to unveil his next chapter, and not quietly. Behind the scenes, a full-scale media operation is already being crafted. The plan? To reshape public perception, to rewrite the ending of his Red Bull story. The messaging is being carefully sculpted. Horner isn't being pushed out, he's being betrayed. He isn't a liability, he's a visionary. And his exit isn't a scandal, it's a consequence of jealousy, of internal politics, of others being threatened by his success and ambition. Every image, every word, every interview will be designed to flip the script and place him back on top. And the rumored destination for this dramatic reinvention? Mercedes. The very team that once clashed with Horner in front of millions, the same team that traded verbal jabs with him year after year, is now poised to become his next battleground, and possibly his greatest opportunity. For Mercedes, this isn't just a bold recruitment, it's a declaration. A signal that they're done playing defense. That they're done explaining setbacks and waiting for form to return. They want results. They want leadership. And they're prepared to gamble everything on Horner being the man to deliver exactly that. They're not just bringing him in for his experience. They're betting on his magnetism, his ability to rally top-tier engineers, shake up stagnant structures, and breathe fire into a team that has been chasing its former dominance. But that's not the only part of the puzzle. Behind every great rebuild lies a wild card, a figure that can shift momentum in an instant. In Horner's case, the whispers suggest there's a plan in motion to do more than restructure a team. There's a growing belief that he may attempt to bring along, or at least open the door to, one of the biggest names on the grid. A driver whose presence could send shockwaves through the sport, whose loyalty might follow leadership more than machinery. The identity is being kept under wraps, but speculation is running wild, and for good reason. The prospect of a Horner-led Mercedes, stacked with fresh talent, revolutionary thinking, and potentially a seismic driver move, is enough to send every rival team scrambling to figure out what's coming next. This isn't just a career pivot. This is an insurgency. A move designed to unseat the existing order, to challenge the balance of power, and to prove that Christian Horner doesn't just survive scandal, he uses it as fuel. And as the hours tick down to Red Bull's inevitable announcement, the rest of the paddock isn't watching with casual interest, they're watching with growing dread. Because when Horner finally reveals his next destination, it won't be subtle. It will be loud, calculated, and absolutely unignorable. And Formula One, once again, will find itself revolving around the man it tried to cast aside. So where exactly are we now, in this moment where everything feels still on the surface but is boiling underneath? We're standing at the edge of something seismic, a storm forming in silence, out of sight, but already shaping the future of Formula One in ways most fans can't begin to imagine. Red Bull, once untouchable, is now fractured from within, with internal divisions, whispered betrayals, and growing tension that no amount of trophies can cover up. The team that once thrived on unity and ruthless execution now finds itself tangled in a web of politics, mistrust, and quiet power grabs. And at the heart of that chaos stands Christian Horner, a man either trying to hold the empire together or preparing to walk away from the ashes. Meanwhile, across the garage, Mercedes is preparing something big, not with headlines or noise, but with calculated silence. Toto Wolff isn't just waiting, he's building. Behind closed doors, meetings are happening, decisions are being made, and blueprints are being drawn for a new era. This isn't just about a team getting ready for the next season. It's about constructing a legacy that lasts beyond Hamilton, beyond the hybrid era, and beyond the shadow of Red Bull. And that future might just involve a name that, until recently, would have been unthinkable inside Brackley: Christian Horner. Yes, you heard that right. The whispers aren't just fantasy anymore, they're becoming probabilities. The idea of Horner leaving the team he helped build and aligning with his greatest rival seems absurd, until you realize how many pieces are already in place. Red Bull is vulnerable. Mercedes is ambitious. Horner is cornered, but still dangerously strategic. And Toto Wolff? He's never played by the rules. If there's an opportunity to turn the chessboard upside down, he won't hesitate. None of this has reached the public in full. Not yet. But make no mistake, the game has already begun. Every photo from the paddock, every subtle quote in an interview, every change in Verstappen's tone or posture, it all matters now. The tension is thick, the alliances are shifting, and the balance of power is wobbling like never before. And once that first announcement hits, whether it's a quiet press release from Red Bull confirming internal restructuring, or an explosive statement from Mercedes dropping a bomb no one saw coming, everything we thought we knew about the grid will be irrelevant. This isn't just about contracts or team principles. It's about pride, control, legacy. It's about two titans of the sport, Toto and Christian, who've been circling each other for over a decade, finally stepping into the same ring with no more gloves. Their rivalry, once waged through team strategies and PR jabs, could now become personal, direct, and irreversible. And the fallout? It won't stop at just two teams. The shockwaves will hit everyone: Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, even the FIA. No one escapes when giants collide. And then there's Verstappen, the wild card, the one piece neither team can fully control. If his trust in Red Bull collapses, if he senses instability, if he starts looking at Mercedes not as the enemy but as the escape route, everything detonates. His future, once ironclad, could become the most valuable and volatile asset on the market. And if Horner moves to Mercedes, it wouldn't just be a power shift. It could be the beginning of a complete realignment of drivers, engineers, sponsors, and everything in between. The next few days aren't just about gossip, they're about survival. About who moves first, who plays their cards with precision, and who miscalculates at the worst possible moment. Because once this all goes public, there's no going back. The facade will break. Loyalties will shatter. And Formula One, as we know it, will enter a new, unpredictable, and thrilling chapter. So don't blink. Don't scroll past. Don't dismiss this as rumor. You're witnessing the start of something massive, something that will be talked about for years. Keep watching. Keep listening. Because any hour now, the silence will end, the headlines will erupt, and the entire motorsport world will hold its breath. And when it happens, when that first domino crashes down, everything will change.